Shalom, shalom, it's the brother Kadash. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders, peace, blessings, and honors to all the brothers in this truth. This is how the doctrine you learn will affect your salvation. And I want to start off with this quick precept to go along with it. This is Matthew's, very holy book, Matthew's chapter 24. Since we are talking about prophecies in the end time, but I want to get straight to the point, and this is verse 13, and I might go back and get some more of the previous verses. It says, but he that should endure unto the end, the same should be saved. And how does your doctrine play a part in you endure to the end? Well, a couple things I want to break down, starting off with, all nations could be saved. That's one of the doctrines that's going out there. That's a stumbling block for Israel. What the mark of the beast is, which is a stumbling block for Israel, and Mystery Babylon is a stumbling block for Esau. These three main things I want to focus on, but these three main prophecies, right, and doctrines of the Bible are some of the three main stumbling blocks. And these three main stumbling blocks or prophecies has a lot to do with your salvation and you enduring to the end. That's why I pulled Matthew's 24 verse 13. It shows you that you have to endure to the end, and there's another stumbling block out there saying that the church would be raptured or whatever before going through any affliction or anything like that. But I believe it's Acts chapter 14 that says, look, through much tribulation, tribulation, that's the word, we must enter into the kingdom of heaven. So it says, he that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And we know how to get the right doctrines. First, we got elders set up, and we attain to wise counsel going to Proverbs chapter 1, but also by reading the book the same way that I am right now. That tells us. So if you read this verse, then you would know there's no such thing as being raptured before tribulation, because it says, he that endure to the end, the same shall be saved. You see what I'm saying? So it's just simply reading and understanding and taking the word for what it means. But the problem that people have is they want the sweetness of the Bible, but they don't want the bitterness of the Bible. And that goes into, I believe, Revelation chapter 10. But going back to Ezekiel chapter 3, another stumbling block is they never eat the whole row. So I know somebody that, had to get the so-called jab because of their job, right? And because of their job and them wanting to save their lives, which, I believe it's Matthew's chapter 10, that tells you, look, those that should try to save their lives should lose their lives, and those that are willing to lose their lives should save their lives, but they're not thinking of that. And because of the doctrine they learn, right? So they're going to go get the jab. They're not thinking about things like the mark of the beast, which is the microchip, which the jab is leading up to. They're not thinking about that, or they're not thinking that it's the time. They're not thinking that the people that's coming up with this, that's ministering to this world, are the devil, the Edomites. They're not thinking that because that's not the doctrine they learn. See, this is how doctrine plays a very, very key point in your salvation, the truth. Having the correct truth, coming in the straight way, the right way, so they thinking they not discerning the times. Because why? When they go to church, all they're being taught is sweet things. They're not being taught prophecies, the bitter things, the dark things to come. The pastor, he kind of tries to stay away from that stuff. He just speaks sweet things. So they out here thinking everything is fucking sweet. You see what I'm saying? Because that's the doctrine they learn. Now, so if she was really in the truth, she say she is, but if she was really in the truth, then she would understand the times. She would understand that it may come to a time where she have to give up her job, where she shouldn't be going out there getting a job, but because of the doctrine she learned, that's swaying her off tracks, which gets me to everybody could be saved. There's so many scriptures that tell you salvation is only for Israel. I think that's John chapter 4 verse 22. I think that's Joel 2:27. I think that's Isaiah chapter 60, Isaiah chapter 61, Jeremiah 30, Jeremiah 31, Isaiah 14. Revelations reveals who got saved. Revelations 21, Revelations 11, Revelation 7. Hosea chapter 1, right? So it's so many scriptures. Isaiah 45, 17 or something like that. So there's so many scripture and it can keep going on and on and on. I think Matthew's 15, where it's clearly telling you and showing you, Deuteronomy 30, where it's clearly showing you and telling you that salvation is for Israel only. But you have these guys out here, because remember, they don't want to tell the bitterness of the Bible. They don't want to go out there and tell people salvation is only for Israel. It's not for them. Going back to, what's that, Ezra chapter 4. They don't want to say that because that's bitter. They want to be loved for the truth. They don't want to be hated for the truth. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 9. It says, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and should kill you, and ye should be hated of all nations for my name's sake. So they don't want to be hated of all nations. They want to be loved by all nations. So therefore they tell all nations you could be saved, so they could bring all nations into their congregation. Right? But you thinking that all nations is, there's good people and there's people that could be saved of the elect of all nations, right? Instead of it being the Israelites that were scattered amongst all nations, Deuteronomy 30, Matthew's 24 too, right? You gonna fall. And Isaiah chapter 13 tells you, matter of fact, let me get to it. You're gonna fall victim to that doctrine that you learned. Why? Because you're gonna trust in these other nations. Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 tells you, trust in not your enemy. So you're not following the scriptures. You're not following the true doctrine. You didn't get the truth, So therefore, you're going to go off, and that stumbling block that you've been learning for all this time, it's going to lead you into a ditch. If the blind should lead the blind, they all should surely fall into a ditch or whatever, roughly paraphrasing. So that doctrine that you learn, that false doctrine that you learn, is what's going to be your end, what's going to be your demise. And see, this is what people don't understand. This is why this ain't about feelings, man. If you really want salvation, this is about the truth. This is about eating the whole row, the sweetness and the bitterness of the whole row. Her trusting these other nations and having them in her congregation, seeing them, believing them. That means when the Edomites come out with the jab, which is out right now, and then they come out with the mark of the beast, the chip, she's not going to look at them as bad people. She's going to say, no, there's good people that's amongst them. They could be saved. So she's going to go along with what they say. And that's going to lead to her demise. And that gets you to the book of Isaiah chapter 13, which also gave you a warning about this exact same thing we're talking about. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 14. And it should be as a chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people. What is so hard for y'all to understand this, man? But they don't. But your pastor, he's not going to read Isaiah chapter 13 to you. So that's not going to be a part of his doctrine. Why? Because Isaiah chapter 13 is a very bitter chapter, because it speaks about the end time, the destruction of the Lord, the wrath of the Lord. They don't want to kind of scare their congregation away, right? It says, they shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Everyone that is found shall be thrusted through, and everyone that is joined into who? Into the wicked, which is Esau, joined into them, shall fall by the sword. So these people, especially these Israelites that say they in the truth, because of the false doctrines they learn, they're going to be joined into these other nations, and they're going to fall by the sword because they're not understanding. They think that these other nations could be saved, but they're not understanding that these other nations have a judgment coming for them. Just like Israel had a judgment and we went into captivity, Deuteronomy chapter 28, Baruch chapter 2, right? These other nations have it. So if you're joined into them, you're going to fall with them. Verse 16, their children also should be dashed into pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. What does it mean for a wife to be ravished? See, your pastor, your preacher in church that wants the big congregation, that wants to make millions of dollars, that wants to be loved, he's never going to bring out these precepts. That's how you know who got the truth. Because we bring out the sweet of the Bible and the bitterness of the Bible. We go into the prophecies. They not going to go into prophecy. He going to tell you this already happened. You see what I'm saying? He's not going to get his congregation ready. So what's going to happen? The Lord, 2 Peter chapter 2, the Lord said he comes back like a thief in the night. You know, so what's going to happen is they're going to be caught off guard. They're going to be caught off guard when the Lord comes back like a thief in the night, because they're not discerning the times correctly, because of the doctrine is affecting. It's going to affect their salvation. They looking at it like it ain't time yet. They looking at it like they need to save their lives, their jobs. So if they got to go get the jab in the arm, they gonna go get it to save their job. They not looking at it like this is the time that they have to give up everything and they have to start separating themselves, because everyone that is found with them should be killed by the sword, should fall by the sword. They're not looking at it like that. They're not looking at the true wrath of the Lord, what the Lord is about to do, and that includes children. Like it said, their children should be dashed to pieces. That includes women being ravished. They're not looking at it like that. They just preaching good things. Everybody's gonna go to heaven. That's what they preaching. If you just believe everybody's gonna go to heaven, kids are innocent. That's what they believe. That's the doctrine, the false doctrine. That's gonna lead them astray, and they're gonna be caught off guard. So it's good. Like me personally in life, anytime I had any hardship, anything happen, I always wanted to feel the worst of it, the worst it could be. I never wanted to beat around the bush, try to use supplements and do different things to kind of ease the pain. No, I always said, look, I'm always going to use defense and faith. Defensive tactics and faith against anything bad that ever came my way. But at some point, when you've been fighting it for so long, you just say, fuck it. I want to feel the worst. Show me your worst. Show me the worst this could be. And that's what we pray, and that's the patience and the faith of the saints. Esau, do your worst. Come on, do it. What are you waiting for? You know, that's like if you get in a fight with somebody. I don't want him to throw small punches, jabs, play around with me, and then I get overconfident and then get caught with a real punch that he throws that's hard and I can't take it. No, I want to feel your hardest punch. I want to feel what you work with so I can know what to do. I can know how to react. I can know what type of measures I have to take. Okay, this guy, he got a hard punch. I got to throw a couple more jabs out there. I got to work my way in, throw some jabs out there. And I got to not keep my head straight up, move my head around, because he can really punch. You see what I'm saying? And then I got to catch him. I always wanted to feel the worst of it, because if you don't, then you're going to be caught off guard. See? And these different teachers is only teaching the sweetness, the Lord's healing power, stuff like that. They gonna be caught off guard because they not teaching their congregation the bitterness of what's about to happen, so they congregation get the full understanding of what's about to happen, which leads me into what's the other one, the mark of the beast. This is one of the very, very, very last and important prophecies to happen, because right after the mark of the beast is ministered, then the destruction comes and the Lord returns. You know, so that's how we could discern the times, because we can see that the mark of the beast out there. But if your doctrine that you've been learning is saying that, look, the mark of the beast is not the chip, you know, the mark of the beast is it's just believing in Esau's system, or we talking about the actual mark, right? And it's, you know, just Christianity or something like that, then you're gonna be caught off guard, because when the jab is being ministered, you're going to take it. You're going to say, look, that's not the chip. I mean, that's not the mark of the beast, so it's okay to take it if I want to keep my house, if I want to keep my children, if I want to keep my job, if I want to keep going to school. I could take it because this technically ain't the mark of the beast. You're going to go to your leaders and you're going to say, look, this ain't the mark of the beast, right? Or this ain't really leading up to the mark of the beast, because we believe the mark of the beast is the microchip, not the jab. But we believe the jab goes hand in hand and it's leading up to it. It's like a predecessor to it. Right? So you going to say, look, we know if you don't believe that the chip is the mark of the beast, you're going to say, well, then I might as well take the chip and I might as well take the jab, because they are forcing it. And if you don't believe that Esau is the devil, and you don't believe who the Edomites are, so-called Caucasian man, right? Then you're going to take it from them, because you're going to say, look, they not the devil. The Arabs over there are the Edomites. So the true Edomites, the devil, you're going to trust in them. And you're going to take what they give you. And it's going to lead to your destruction. So it affects your salvation. It all goes back to your salvation, you know. Because the word, that's why we were commanded to study this Bible. Eat the whole row, right? And teach it. because this word is what's going to get you salvation, Yahweh Shai, which is going to make you pure enough or elected, since we always talk about the elect, for Yahweh Shai to elect you to be saved, to inherit the kingdom of his father, Yahweh. So doctrine is very important. You got to take your feelings out the way, man. You guys out here with your Western opinions and mindset and your first world country mindset, you have to throw that shit down the drain and take your feelings out the way so you can get the true doctrine, so you can get salvation, because that's the only thing that's going to matter. How you feel about Deuteronomy 21, or what is that, Deuteronomy 22 or whatever, however you feel about that ain't gonna fucking matter if you don't get saved. If you an Israelite, you're going to be reborn back in the kingdom, but you're going to have to taste the second death. If you're another nation, you're going to be put to death during the second death, or you're going to be put in slavery after it. So their opinion doesn't matter, man. You want to get the truth so you could be saved. And the last one, Mystery Babylon is not America, anything other than America. Mystery Babylon is America, but the doctrine going out there is Mystery Babylon is the Vatican City. You're going to be caught off guard, man, because you're going to trust in America, which means that you're going to trust in the leaders of America and the people that run America, which are the Edomites, and you're going to fall into a ditch and you're going to be destroyed. This is going to affect your salvation, because you're going to be looking at something come from the Vatican City, but you're going to be caught off guard when it's America that's going to be proven to be Mystery Babylon. All the signs are there, man. The mother of harlots. This is the most wickedest place on earth. You can't do whatever the fuck you want to do in the Vatican City. They have a certain law, statutes, and commandments that they uphold that goes back to the church, which they could be a part of the false prophet. But America is the most wickedest place on earth. It's way more wickeder than the Vatican City. The Vatican City is a population of like 1,000 people. Come on, man. And it said the Israelites will be in captivity. The boatload of the Israelites will be in captivity in Mystery Babylon. So how could a population of 1,000 people, a small place, where are the Israelites at that's over there? And I asked the dude that thought that the Vatican City was Mystery Babylon. He said, well, it's a future prophecy. I said, okay, so you saying that eventually somewhere in the future that the Israelites are going to go into slavery? And he believed that the Negroes, because he is one, believe that we are the Israelites. So you say that in the future they're going to go into slavery under the Vatican City? You know how dumb that fucking sounds? That's very dumb. Why? Because he's not discerning the time. He ain't discerning. And see, the things that's happening in the world is starting to change a lot of these guys' hearts. They starting to see it. Some of them are starting to wake up and say, damn, it's getting hard. Damn, this is it. Damn, we at the end. So some of the doctrines that they learn don't make no sense, the time periods. Where's the time at that this earth got for all the Israelites, Native Americans, Negroes, Hispanics to go back into another slavery? So something happens to America where they get out of the American slavery, right? And then they go into another slavery under the Vatican City, and then they're transported all over there to the Vatican City where they're going to be in slavery at when the Lord returns. Where's the time period for that? There's no time period for that doctrine. We're at the end now, man. The mark of the beast is already out in certain places. Look at Sweden. Look at the Pentagon just came out with it. If you know what I'm talking about, if you have ears to hear, go do your research. So that would mean that the Israelites are already in the last captivity that they're going to be in. We know the boatload of us is here in America. So that would by default have to make America Mystery Babylon. But these different doctrines that people are learning is going to dictate their salvation, man. It's going to affect your salvation, because it's going to affect the certain things that you do, the certain moves that you make. Here's to end off with right here. Who are the true Israelites? That's another doctrine. So a lot of people don't look at us to be the true Israelites. So they looking at these other leaders that's leading them astray, because they not getting the truth. Romans chapter 3 says, and to them was given the oracles of God, meaning the Jews. What benefit does it, what advantage does a Jew have to be a Jew? So when we on the highways and byways yelling, bringing out the truth, trying to warn them, they ain't really trying to hear it from us. But that doctrine of who they believe is the true, the church, whoever follows, that's gonna affect their salvation. This is First Timothy chapter 4 verse 1. It says, now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some should depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. See? And these are all doctrines of devils. We know who the true Israelites are. So-called Negroes, Native Americans, Hispanics, but there's a whole 12 tribe chart. We know Mystery Babylon is America. People telling you that Mystery Babylon is not America because they want America to be saved, because they love America. It benefits them. And then they could get the people in America inside their congregation to come follow them. They could be loved because they saying great things about America rather than going against America, which will make you hate it. We see it. It says speaking lies and hypocrisy, which that's what they're doing. Because they heard the truth, but they want to continue with a lie because of certain things. They want, like I said, they want to be loved for the truth. Right? They don't want to be hated for the truth. Having their conscience seared with hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats. We can eat meat, man. This whole dietary law. But even just the truth. They abstain from the truth of because they don't want to be hated for the truth. That's what it comes back to, man. Which God has created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. See? Which believe and know the truth. For every creature of God is good, and nothing is to be refused if it is received with thanksgiving, but there is a clean and unclean dietary law. But it's just showing you that a lot of people, and here, let me pull this one right here, just to better explain what I'm saying, and I'm going to leave it off right here. The doctrines that you learn is going to affect your salvation. It's going to have a play in your salvation. Does that mean that you can't get salvation? No, I'm not saying that, because it's not my place to say. But they will affect your salvation, because what? It's going to affect if you endure to the end. That's why we pull Matthew 24. Some of the stumbling blocks, some of the pitfalls that you might fall for, It says this word, knowledge, wisdom and knowledge should be the strength of your salvation. This is Psalm chapter 40. Verse 7 says, then I said, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. So you got to come in the whole volume of the book. You can't just read Paul's writings. You can't just read the good parts of the Bible that your pastor is teaching. You got to come in the whole volume, but you got to eat the whole row. It says, I delight to do thy will, oh my God, yet thy law is within my heart. So you got to keep the law, statutes, commandments. There's doctrines out there that say you ain't got to keep the law, statutes, commandments no more. You ain't going to be elected, man. It says, I have preached righteousness in the great congregation. I have not refrained my lips, O Lord, thou knowest. And this is what your pastors and preachers are doing. They know Isaiah 13 exists. They know Isaiah 14 exists. They know the book of Revelations exists. But they know Isaiah 34 exists. Isaiah 63. They not going to go into these prophecies, man. Why? Because they're refraining their lips. Why? Because they want to be loved for the truth, not hated for teaching the bitterness of it. It says, I have preached righteousness in the great congregation, and I have not refrained my lips, O Lord, thou knowest. I have not hid thy righteousness within my heart. Revelation 13, starting at verse 7. Those that lead into captivity should be led into captivity. Those that kill with the sword must be killed with the sword. That's righteousness. But they refraining their lips from bringing out that priesthood. They're never going to bring out Revelations 2 and 26. They're never going to bring out Revelations 13, verse 7 and 8. Or whatever. They're not going to bring out that. Why? Because that means that the people in their congregation that they say anybody and everybody could be saved have a judgment, because all nations has had a part in Israel. Destruction, or at some point, but all nations are going into captivity, especially the ones that led us into captivity. And you know who that is. That's Esau, Edom, right here in Mystery Babylon, which is America. But they want them to be a part of their congregation. Esau, Edom has the power over here that's giving them these churches and stuff like that, and tax benefits and breaks and stuff like that. 401, whatever the thing is, the agreement they make with the government. So they don't want to piss them off, meaning they don't want to be hated for the truth. Because they would have to tell them, look, yeah, y'all going to take captivity because y'all took us into captivity. It says, I had declared thy faithfulness and thy salvation. I have not concealed thy loving kindness and thy truth from the great congregation. They concealing that truth. But the thing is, going back to Isaiah chapter 13, and 2 Peter chapter 2, they going to be caught off guard. The Lord's going to come back like a thief in the night, and they going to trust in their enemy, and they going to have to pay for trusting in their enemy because of the doctrines they learn. So this is how the doctrines that you learn can affect your salvation. You have been warned. With that, I said salvation to the elect. Shalom.